Well met, everyone. I am Rich Delich. This video is sponsored by coffee. I do not have my coffee with me right now, but as soon as the machine there in the kitchen beeps, I will have to pause this video to retrieve that. My previous video, the one I just uploaded, is doing quite well for a lowly YouTuber such as myself to have a video with over 200 views. Sounds like something you are interested in. So today's video, I am going to piggyback off of that. I'm going to lean into that and do something quite similar. I have 3 videos here that I'm going to break down, but this time we are going to look at these videos from the player perspective, player and or character perspective, from the other side of the DM screen, if you will. Apologies. We're going to break it down from the player's perspective. So there's a lot to cover here. Let's just jump into it. I'll kind of give you the setup on each of these 3 videos, no particular order. Okay, here's the setup. Matt Mercer is the Dungeon Master. Who we are going to be looking at in this video is Taliesin. Taliesin Jaffe, I believe is his name. Molly Mock, Caduceus. I think he was Percy in the first Critical Role season. The player at Critical Role, right? So what you have on the right of the screen to Matt Mercer's left, you have Taliesin at the end. You have Jessica Chobot, who is in the, like she was or is in the gaming industry with IGN or something like that, in the middle. And then in the white shirt is Troy Baker, the legendary, iconic voice actor. And that's saying a lot when you're at a table with Matt Mercer and some other voice actors. Troy Baker's voice work is, to me, that's the pinnacle. Just Google him and you'll realize, oh, he's voice acted everything. So anyway, what you have on the right is that group. And then on the left, you have Terry Crews. Next to Terry Crews is Ashley Birch, who is another voice actor. And she's played in, in Matt Mercer's games and things like that. So she knows all of them and whatnot. And I believe Ashley Birch is also the voice actress for Tiny Tina from Borderlands. And then you have Marisha. Okay, and you'll see kind of both of them. Now, what I believe they're playing here is in World of Warcraft. So I don't know what system it is, but you have Terry Crews, and that side of the table is, I think, the Horde. And then you have where Taliesin and Troy Baker is the Alliance. So there's a little bit of a PvP element here, but Matt has put some sort of a creature or a monster on the board, which forces them to sort of create this sort of loose alliance to deal with this threat, this sort of common threat between the two of them. But what I want you to look at as I kind of play through this and skip along and such, it looks like Jessica and Troy over there on the right of the screen are newer players, maybe just new to this edition or to D&D in general, where Taliesin is the veteran role player. And what you can really kind of latch onto and build some skills off of is notice how Taliesin offers suggestions, he helps players, he holds their hand and guides them, but he doesn't just blatantly take control. Right? He doesn't just create a situation where I know the best situation, I know the best tactics, let me just play your character for you. I can't stand that at the table because you don't give an opportunity for new players, new role players, to learn and figure it out for themselves. So Taliesin is very good at weaving between keeping pacing and helping them when they feel stuck or they don't know what to do, but not being so heavy-handed with it. So let's just watch through this, and like I said, I'll skip ahead a little bit.
11
yeah. Is the armor class. That hits.
Okay, cool. Right. Good.
It's a very big creature. It's not very hard to hit.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
So go ahead and roll your damage on that. It's the D8 plus 2D6.
Okay,
roll that, and then plus 3 to this.
I mean,
7.
10.
So 10 points of damage.
Mm-hmm.
All
It's not
right.
bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
No.
You're not doing anything.
And you have your second attack.
You get to swing again, too.
Oh, and I get to swing again.
Yes, you
Same
do.
thing, right? Same roll?
No, yeah, this one.
This one, and then that one again?
Yeah, and then just the D8.
So Matt mentioned it, but Taliesin kind of helped and said, hey, you have another attack. And he's kind of just pointing her to the dice to help her, right? To just help create some smooth, efficient gameplay.
6. Is that a 6 or a 9?
That's a 6.
Yep, that hits as well. 6
right.
6 plus 6 brings it to 12.
So 1D8 is what
This
I
one?
Yeah.
Yep.
How many hit points do you have?
27.
3.
now.
So 6 points of damage. So with both slams of your warhammer into it, you're like carving away bits of its.
So just something as simple as pointing out the dice, right? But you don't have to grab the dice for them and things like this. Let them learn as well, but just help them.
Where is that?
The shard? Oh.
Oh, it's extra and advantage on on pretty much saving throws
I
and
don't know
checks.
where it went.
Yeah, for strength and dexterity saving throws, you have advantage,
Right.
and you have plus 10 movement.
Yeah.
So, Nellis, you've always been my first mate. You've always been great and steady counsel. I turn to you in this moment to ask you. I'm feeling that I want to throw penance, but I want to level it up to a second level,
Alrighty.
and then as my bonus action, do Shadow Word.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Pain.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's pretty cool.
So,
That's pretty cool.
my penance,
yeah.
well, you will, I'm sure, describe that.
I love that. Right? So Troy Baker, he kind of uses it as a little bit of in-game, right? Where he talks about how his character is sort of confiding in Taliesin's character of help guide me better. But then, just as a real-life person, basically saying, I don't really know if this is optimum. Would you do this? And Taliesin just grabs it and notices the sort of, I don't want to say excitement, but just the intention that Troy is hoping his choice of what of his action here is something that is neat. And Taliesin just, that's pretty cool, right? Excuse me. Even if it's not, even if there was maybe something a little better. I just love the way that Taliesin offered that, kind of gave his encouragement and his sort of stamp of approval of, yeah, go for it. That sounds good. That sounds cool. I love it. So let's look at that one more time because that's really powerful.
Nellis, you've always been my first mate. You've always been great and steady counsel. I turn to you in this moment to ask you. I'm feeling that I want to throw penance, but I want to level it up to a second level,
Alrighty.
and then as my bonus action, do Shadow Word.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Pain.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's pretty cool.
So,
That's pretty cool.
my penance,
yeah.
Okay, now this last part is really neat.
And just flame breath your captain to within an inch of his life.
Let me find this one.
They are now next to each other. So
Okay, right here.
Unless you want to move.
So what you'll notice is Jessica Chobot in the middle maybe doesn't know what her options are. Taliesin elegantly reminds her that you might have more options or you might be able to do more than you think. But instead of saying, here it is, this is what you do, this is how you do it, or taking control of the character, he kind of just ushers her and sort of, take a look again. Like, there's something there for you that might help you to maximize your turn. And I just really, really enjoy the way, and he's always done that. I've watched a few other videos of him doing that. You're looking at a veteran role player that is playing among a group in Critical Role of players that know each other so well and are, you know, kind of considered like the gold standard of a D&D group, right? Between Matt Mercer, DM, and players. But yet he knows what audience and table he's at. Remember I mentioned that with Deborah Ann Wool as a DM, which you'll see in a moment on the next video, how she just knows the audience at the table and she plays into her strengths as a DM to feed into that. Taliesin as a player is really good at feeding into when to back off, when to help, and how much to help. So check this out. I have returned. The power in my house ceases to function without coffee in my belly. Let's take a look at this part where Taliesin helps, but not too much. It's very elegant, something you should emulate.
Okay, you're okay there? All right, that finished Elvis's turn. Eddie, you're up. You just watched this mage appear and just flame breath your captain to within an inch of his life.
literally.
Yes.
They are now next to each other. So anything you have that has any kind of double range, you can hit both of them at the
I
same
don't think I
time.
have anything with double range though.
I'll double check, but yeah.
But I can't do both of these.
Oh yeah, you can.
I can.
Yeah.
Can I cast Flash of Light to Captain
You may.
using first level to heal?
Yeah, so go
And
ahead.
then, okay, we'll do it one at a time.
That's it. That was awesome. I just love, hey, check again. Instead of, oh no, here it is. You're helping them, but also giving them an opportunity to figure it out for themselves. Really, really well done. Let's look at the second one. Let's see if I can get out of here. Okay, now this one, we're just going to kind of let it play because it's just a wonderful scene. There isn't one particular player to really look at. It's more of the dynamic of the group in general. This is a familiar group. It's Deborah Ann Wool. I had most of the players were in the DM video, the previous video I just uploaded. But obviously look at how cool and how well she's running things and how quickly, or I should say how she plays into what the characters are saying and not making definitive no, I'm the DM. This is really how it works. So notice how she does that as a DM. So another DM tip here. But just notice how the group is so engaged. And there's one player, really, Ricky, Xander Janneret, I believe is the real guy's name. He has like blue hair, I think. Notice how engaged he is, right? Everything from reading his face as he's responding to what the DM is saying, that offers so much to the table, right? When the DM feels like the players are reciprocating that energy and that enthusiasm and they're paying attention, it creates just an overall scene that's just really, really epic. And just how quiet people are when one player takes sort of the reins, just a really good dynamic of how the players are handling this uncomfortable situation. It's really neat. And then finally, take a look at the barbarian. She creates the coolest narrative for I'm going to rage, right? Notice that, but also how, let's just play this.
You step up into a grand stair hall. Here there is one stair that wends up and goes in opposite directions to a balcony that encircles the top of this sort of 2-floor. Underneath those stairs are archways going into a well-lit room. To your left is a small staircase that seems to head up just about 4 or 5 steps and dead end in the wall. However, Mrs. Powell continues to walk up this main staircase and turns to the right. She takes you around, up, down this hallway. She comes in front of 2 very large double doors. And as you get near them, you literally feel a chill go up your spine. It is colder here. Mrs. Powell wraps her shawl tightly around her, takes out her keys, knocks twice. You hear a small voice from inside say, "Come in." She unlocks the door and opens it and walks in. As you follow her in, she closes the door behind you and again locks it.
How many players would have missed, and later on when they're going to take some actions or something, or shit gets real, and they need to leave the room, they're like, hey, is the door locked? She said that she relocked the door. Pay attention. It's the best advice I can give to players. Pay attention. This whole situation starts to lose so much of its weight and suspense when the DM has to repeat something. You know what I mean? Just pay attention. We know she unlocked the door and she relocked it. I'll rewind that and I promise you, I've done this for 40 years. Many, many times people just don't pay attention to little details like this. But if the DM makes a point to say it, pay attention to it because it helps inform your decisions later. The situation and the environment has already been set for you.
Mrs. Powell wraps her shawl tightly around her, takes out her keys, knocks twice. You hear a small voice from inside say, "Come in." She unlocks the door and opens it and walks in. As you follow her in, she closes the door behind you and again locks it. This room has been emptied of all of its contents beyond a bed and a large fireplace in the corner, which has a roaring fire in it, but it does little to take away the chill that you feel in your bones. There is dirt on the walls where picture frames used to hang. The windows have all been broken and then boarded up. You can even feel the fog and the cold coming through them. As you turn around, you see a sort of thin woman, smartly dressed, sitting on a wooden chair next to a bed. On the bed, there's a bundle of sheets that sort of slowly
I'm gonna walk forward, just reach out my hand and gently, touch the bundle and say, "We're here to help."
And a face turns around to look at you. Its eyes are sunken. It is the face of a young woman, but there are veins and pale, and there's bruises all the way down one side of her face. She turns, she stands straight up, and she goes.
She wait.
She stands up in the bed in a nightdress, and she looks at you, and she says, "No one can help."
Oh, God.
Well, that was really unexpected.
Mary stands up in the chair and she backs away, pulling you back. She goes, "It's all right, go back to sleep, my darling. Come. She pulls you to the back of the corner. She goes, "Look, we try not to rouse her as best that we can. She will hurt herself or others. Do you have any thoughts, anything you can tell me about what you think this might be?"
Gather around. You notice on Goldfang he's got these robes. He's a sorcerer with a staff. And then he's got this big black sort of turtleneck thing. And he whips it off and he throws it in the middle of the ground. And he says, "Grab hands now, like your life depended on it. Boy, grab hands." And he'll grab Mary's hand.
Grabs Mary's hand. Mary joins in.
And then he'll...
When Deborah Ann Wall says, Mary joins in. She's Matthew Lillard, Scooby-Doo. I remember him as serial killer, I think, from the movie Hackers. Awesome dude. He's the DM right now. Like, it's his moment. And the DM just basically gives it to him. Brilliant.
Pull his candle out of a pack and he'll stick it in the middle of the shroud and he'll say, Insipere! Oh.
The candle lights, the fire in the room dims as this happens. Everything seems to go kind of quiet and still. You feel a little bit of a wind kind of in the center of your circle. All you can hear, though, from behind you as you close your eyes and start to chant is a growl of...
Lacantor Spiritus. Lacantor Spiritus. Lacantor Spiritus. Lacantor Spiritus. Lacantor Spiritus. Lacantor Spiritus.
Fine, speak with me. I am here.
What is it you want, creature?
I want despair.
Fine.
I want you to watch this girl rot.
Why? Speak to me, why? What is the damage that's been done to you, creature?
There shall be no happiness in this house. She starts to weave and bob. You see her stand up. She runs to the wall and she begins to bang her head against the wall.
Stop!
She takes damage from that. She bangs her head against
Why?
the
Tell
wall.
us why! What is it about?
On a
What do
third
you
one,
want?
she bangs her head against the wall.
I cast a Zone of Truth. I cast a Zone of Truth spell, and I want to talk to Sarah, not the demon.
You want to talk to Sarah.
I want to see if she's okay in there and what she's seeing and if she's in this room with us.
So what do you say? You cast Zone of Truth?
I cast it.
As you do it, the girl's body drops to the ground in a heap and she begins to writhe.
I cast. As she's casting, I cast.
Okay. Her body stills and it goes back to that shallow breathing.
Sarah, we're here to help you. Are you okay?
She rolls her face up and her eyes seem a little clearer and she says, please, please, I'm here. And the body rises again and goes and sits back on its bed, curled up, looking at you all.
We've got to get the spirit out.
The intensity, right? The suspense, the whatever, the thrill of the moment, right? Whether the Zone of Truth is the right spell or, should have been protection from evil, doesn't matter. It's just the players responding in the moment to an uncomfortable situation. And I love how everyone is just giving, including the DM, their moment to just let them do what they do. And if it's not optimum, I think that's kind of the point of it. That's what adds to the coolness of this whole situation. Now, the lady in the flannel shirt, the red and black flannel, when she rages and she talks about her path of the ancestral guardians, I think, right? So on paper, oftentimes people will pick like Path of the Totem Barbarian, right? Because it's a pretty damn powerful subclass for barbarians. Like resistance to everything but psychic. That's sort of a default grab, right? But notice how this moment, it reminds her of how cool it was to pick Ancestral Guardian. And the DM allows that narrative moment that makes that subclass shine. No other subclass, Berserker, Totem Barbarian, Storm Herald, whatever, would have had the same feeling as what you're about to witness. So watch how cool this moment is.
Great assessment.
I'm just.
Can I try something?
Yes.
Okay. So, because I have the Path of the Ancestral Guardian, I don't know how this would work. I can ask my ancestor to protect a certain target from a
Okay.
certain target.
Okay.
Can I attempt to ask my ancestor to protect Sarah from this beast so it stops dealing damage to her?
Yeah. Would it be like a charisma, something like that? To see.
I have to be raging.
Oh.
I know we're talking about players here for Dungeon Masters. That exact question right there, and the fact that that was asked as a question versus a statement, that is how you Dungeon Master. That is the single best moment of DMing I have ever seen. Let's rewind that. It is that important.
From
Okay.
a certain target.
Okay.
Can I attempt to ask my ancestor to protect Sarah from this beast so it stops dealing damage to her?
Yeah. Would it be like a charisma, something like that? To see.
Deborah Ann Wool is the DM. And she's asking the player. That is the epitome of player agency. The epitome of giving the moment to the player and having them tell you how the rules work. And the ability to let that go and to allow that power to be taken from you as a DM is also the epitome of confidence as a dungeon master. That is the best example of of just how much authority and respect and power Deborah Ann Woll has as a DM because of how confident she is in knowing when she needs to allow the player to make that choice. That is phenomenal. So let's move forward with this.
Okay, so you can rage.
I can enter a rage. Like seeing this, yes.
Seeing this girl bashing her head against the wall.
This profane, this bastardization of everything I believe in, and seeing this like this harmful spirit who is going against everything I've been raised to respect. You start to see Beryl just like bare her fangs and start to seethe. And as she like clenches her fists, trying to hold herself back because she knows if she harms this profane creature, she'll be harming the girl. Her eyes become a different color. She starts to alight. And then you just hear like a bit of a cackle. And as you hear a bit of a cackle, you almost see like an ethereal presence come up out of her.
What?
And you see, Chief is what I call her. And you see her arise from within me. And this like very mischievous almost spirit rises up. And she says, "Don't worry, I know what to do here." and I still like, frothing, I say, "Chief, I call upon your strength. Please save this girl, save this woman from this profane creature." And my spirit goes forth.
Okay, great.
That is how you describe player action. Let's move into the third one. What's his name? Yuri Lowenthal is the real life person. I don't know what he's playing, an orc or a lizard folk or something, but he's burying his brother. That's an important moment for that character. And just notice how quiet. And also, like, confirming Wil Wheaton is as the DM of, like, I'm listening, go on, and giving the player that moment. But the respect, which adds more weight, and how important this moment is of no one else sort of peanut gallerying or chiming in. And just notice how well he describes it. But most importantly, you're looking at the other players and their reaction of just taking a backseat. This is not about them, this is about him. So listen to this. This is really cool.
So, tell me how your brother's funeral goes.
There's water out here, and I purchase a small boat for him to go out in, and I lay down my Eskrima sticks with him because that was something that he gave me, so I wanted to have that back. And I say I'm sorry because I never got to say that. And I'm sorry that you won't hear it, but I hope that this will be enough. Then we set fire to the boat.
As his pyre drifts down the river, you notice that this area of Nestora, which is usually like just filled with people, has been completely cleared so that you are the only ones, so that you have this moment to yourself. The boat catches fire and the tide draws it out down into the sea, and you watch it until you can't see it any longer.
Okay. That was really cool. So next part that I'm going to kind of skip around on, there's some behind the scenes stuff going on with one of the storylines of a character. And the other players, they do a really good job of separating, right? That's always a big thing at the table, is separating what real life player feels and might know versus your character knows nothing about that. So stop judging him. But you can tell the other characters are kind of like, something's going on. We need to have a conversation about this. I love that they don't steal the moment from Wil Wheaton, the DM, of the NPC that's involved and the quest hook and the storyline by confronting that character with, dude, what's going on? What are you not telling us? But they kind of just very quickly say, we're going to have a conversation about this. We need to figure this out later. And then when that comes in and they start talking about that, the way that they just play off of each other as characters. It's just a really cool moment. So let's take a look at this.
Some of your problems go away. A debt that you may own
Maybe.
has been purchased by the Voss Group.
This does not surprise me.
As it turns out, the four of you have been, in Mr. Voss's view, unjustly marked as terrorists.
Seriously.
I justly mark him a douchebag. For unrelated reasons that I'm not going to get into right now.
Are we going
All
to
right.
have a group meeting?
Yeah.
All right, that's fair.
What's going on over
It's fair, isn't it?
That's fair, sure it is.
I thought
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Voss senses these thoughts from you, and Voss's avatar says, "You are not unreasonable." And he looks back.
Ankia, feeling as one might expect uncomfortable,
Yes.
looks at the carpet.
All right, Voss says,
See, they're concerned. There's something going on with that character that they need to know about, but they're not taking away from this particular moment. It's kind of like, we'll deal with that in a little bit. And I love that they're separating player from character, right? Maybe the player doesn't know what Will Wheaton and that player negotiated on some sort of backstory. But that player is thinking, my character is here getting a job or a quest hook. Let's just deal with this first and we'll deal with that other character stuff later. You know, and I love the way that they kind of delay it. This is how they confront the player as, dude, what's going on earlier when we were talking to that NPC? What's the story here? And I love how they bring him in, right? Versus like, there's something you're going, dealing with. I don't want to, there's no selfishness here. And I love how there's just this immediate welcoming of, hey, we're in this together. Your flaws are my flaws because we're traveling with them together. Check out how they handle this as players.
I might try and build a little grappling hook onto Jeremy.
Sure.
With that little motor I had.
She's
And
tinkering. Can I
Yeah.
come over and talk to her?
"Sure you can."
yeah.
And I just want to ask her, what the heck was all that about? Because I thought I knew like everything, and that was definitely not something that I know.
That's funny because I was gonna try to find a time to corner you and ask the same thing. So maybe we're actually all
Just everybody.
But
And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to work on my robot.
I'm trying to work on my robot, but we all know what the is going
But
on.
thanks for getting all up in my business.
That is a good question. What does she do?
My father was killed carelessly by a person who took no interest or notice in the fact that that had occurred. And the car that was being driven was carrying an employee of Voss. And after I decided to try and find this information out, which I succeeded in finding out, not as much as I would have liked, I was hired by that private security company to do a number of things. And I know that they are a company that Voss hires. I don't know if the things that I was doing was for Voss, but I know that there's a chance that it was. And I know that those are the kinds of things that shouldn't be done.
So he's a bad man?
I don't think that you get that powerful without being a bad man.
We'll find a way to make it right.
He gave you a really cool blaster. I kind of want to be able to pull Ankia out of that just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Does she?
Ankia is feeling better about her life than she has in a long time.
Go team.
That's awesome. And that's where we'll end it. Thanks everyone for watching. See you guys in the next video.